Hi, and welcome to my vlog for this week. We're asked basically to look at our digital identity, and I kind of did that last week as part of my in my submission for my assignment on, the networked identity. And again, this is my graphic that I came up with. Pro tip: I actually figured out a way to make this into a thing link without. You can just put a box over top in here inside of Google Draw, and then kind of make it transparent, the borders and the fill in. And you can also then you can make it so then if you clicked on it, it would take you to your different parts. So that's a little pro tip for you. I learned something new, uh, and uh, and yeah, just wanted to get into some of the questions. I did watch the video digital dossier, and it definitely struck, a lot of points with me. Obviously, I come from the era before, you can send pictures of, your ultrasound to people through email or social media, what have you. Now today, that's a pretty consistent thing. But of course, all my information like that, there is a footprint, and I like the term digital tattoo better than footprint because tattoos are way harder to remove. So like even in the video they showed a ski track and they kind of said, you can see your skis in there, but if a wind came across or if other people went over there, you wouldn't be able to tell that there was even your ski tracks in there. So I think a tattoo is a lot more difficult to remove. It is possible in some ways, but I think that's what we're doing when we do that. And the video definitely would back that quite up with, when you have that trail of things, it's not really easy to do. I know from our research, they're trying to do some of that in Europe where you have to get rid of things, but I don't definitely hear a lot of the things you put online can follow you, good or bad. And I'll get to that later in this vlog. Do you think, uh, what do you think of others having the power to shape your identity? And definitely, that's part of what this graphic is about. We live in a connected society. There's friends, families, people we don't know, things in your business that definitely shape who you are. And I think that's a good challenge. I think we can learn from each other. I think, people can keep us in check. I also think that it's important to share and to look at other people and to do that. So, I think that's, just like somebody has the power over me in that way, I think I also have the power, and we have to remember that and treat each other with respect when we look at an identity and know what things are going on with that. Um, what types of things can you do to create a positive digital identity? Well, I mean, even what I showed with my video last week, I've really tried hard to be, to show something and share something that is really means a lot to me, and that's education. So inside of that, I'm sharing a lot of the work that I did or research I've done, and those type of things. I've tried to lock down as much as I can some of the other things, with the personal life. There is definitely some out there, and whether it's my wife using Facebook or what have you, or kids maybe even doing stuff that I don't know behind. There's definitely identity, but you should always, that's kind of my faith comes out in this a little bit too. You should always act, like nobody's watching. How would you act anyways? Not just put on a show for certain things. So I definitely try to keep that. In mind the way I live, whether it's online or offline. And I think that's a really positive, way to look at your digital identity. Um, you have to look yourself in the mirror and see what you have, whether it's online or offline. So I think a lot of reflection and that, and always striving to get better is really important. That. So I use a variety of social networks. I do have a Facebook account. I basically got on that so I can be in connection with a couple of teachers I met overseas and see how they're doing, wish them happy birthday and that. Then I kind of use a little bit of professionally too. I follow some things like Microsoft and Video Educators, and I've joined a couple other groups that deal with education on Facebook, but not a lot. I do have a Pinterest account. I've looked on there, and I have, some pictures and stuff that I thought were Pinteresting, pardon the pun, but I don't use it a lot. I do have Instagram. Mostly it's pictures when I go golfing of the of the sunset or some things I see on that. So I don't really use Instagram a lot. I do have a LinkedIn account. I don't have a lot on that, but I have joined some people and I get some requests. And if I know them, I'll join. And I do have a network on LinkedIn. And maybe down the road, if I ever decide to do something else other than this, I'd probably maybe jump into LinkedIn more a little bit and see what I can find there to make connections and that type of thing. What do you think are some common sense rules when establishing an online identity? I think that goes before, like, can you look yourself in the mirror and be happy with it? Would it be something you'd want your mom or your grandma to see? I think is common sense and that type of thing. But also, too, people have a right to say, different things, but not at the expense of other people and tearing down other people. So obviously, when you're doing your identity, be true to yourself, but don't attack other people based on religion or sex or race or anything like that. I think that's pretty common sense in my opinion. Unfortunately, we don't always see that. How can we intentionally create and manage our digital identities and online identities? Well, definitely, we have to be thinking to do a Google search like we did before, see what's out there, be cognizant of what's going on. Uh, you know, if you're out somewhere having some fun, maybe on a beach, and you're having a couple of drinks or whatever, that might not be the best thing to share and to show it. I'm not saying you can't do that, but also too, somebody takes her. Sometimes I was just reading an article that I'm teaching in an online class called Blink. Sometimes people will just in a blink of an eye make a snap decision about you, whether it's fair or not. So again, you got to think, if somebody blinks, what will they see? You can't control everything, but definitely you can take a look at it. You can post a lot of positive things about it, and definitely think that there's a saying out there in a book by somebody might know in our class, but you got to make the positives so loud that the negatives are basically, you can't even hear them, so to speak. So when you're thinking about that and using that to transfer into your online life, I think that would be definitely one thing to think about is really share a lot of positivity out there, and usually you get a lot of positivity back. And then how do you deal with information about our identity that's false, we're not proud of? Things we probably get, well, if it's false, you try to correct it and say, no, sorry, what's going on, have facts going on. If you're not proud of, again, it's really tough to take things off, but admit to it, own to it. Don't try to lie, just like in being online. Sometimes things you'd rather forget. You got to face the music once in a while. Show that you've learned from it and you've grown from it if you made a mistake, and do your best to move on. From that, because that happens, and that stuff sometimes gets online too, and you just have to be true to yourself and honest and open. Admit your mistakes and don't try to slam somebody else or hide about it. I mean, I think a lot of that would go with being offline and true and genuine. And then what are the advantages and disadvantages of being entirely or mostly off the grid in today's world? Well, I think uh, off the grid, you don't have to worry about somebody like hacking into your account, maybe catfishing you, maybe getting into your personal files, or getting into your bank account and those type of things. So there are some advantages of being offline, but it's just like in a math class, I teach that credit cards. I'm not a huge fan of credit cards, but they're kind of a necessary evil. You got to build up credit, and sometimes with a credit card, having no credit is just as bad as having bad credit. So I take that into this as well. If you and I, for example, are competing for a job and you're really qualified, but there's nothing online that shows your qualifications or shows some of the things that you're into or all the positive things that you're doing, but I have, let's say you have that, right? Nothing on there, but I do. I have. You go on there and you Google my name and you see this and that and other. You might even have more qualifications for me, but they're hidden. Whereas mine's out there, and if somebody Googles it or whatever, they'd be able to see, basically, what you're about. So I would have an advantage over that for sure. So it'd be a disadvantage not to have anything online because then, people, whether it's right or wrong, are going to check your Facebook or your Twitter account and try to dig in a little deeper, like we did in the last class. and that says a lot about you as well. So this has been my identity vlog for this week. Interesting questions, good video. Thanks, Alec, for sharing the lesson that helped spur this little rant by me. And hopefully, it picked up a couple things. Thanks for watching.